So what I'm gonna use on Asha is a bald cap. This is a Mayron brand. And then I have some cotton here to fill and stuff inside the bald cap. So adding a little bit of hairspray may help tack down my cotton. I'm just tearing away some excess here so it kind of feathers out. So I have two little square guys here. What I'm trying to achieve here is a slightly smoother surface, but really if it's not that smooth, it's not the end of the world because Pennywise does have a lot of crackly texture. I'm gonna hold it in place for a second. I just wanna make sure I carefully wrap this around so the cotton doesn't slide around. Okay, you can let go. I'm gonna do a little bit of squeezing to get the excess air out of the cap. And then I'm gonna glue the bald cap with a medical grade adhesive called Prozaid. If you don't have access to that, you can always use spirit gum. Okay, so just glue that down, glue close to the hairline. I left a little excess, that's gonna get snipped off. I'm gonna cut out holes for the ears so you can pop the ears out. Don't forget, keep your hand behind the cap between the model's skin and the scissors. Once everything is glued, I'm going to cut off the excess and glue the rest of the edges down. Tack the rest of this down. If you wanna hide edges of the bald cap, you can conceal it with prosthetic filler. I use Bondo, or you can just fill it with liquid latex, or even if you have Duo, which is a lash glue, that will work. If you have Bondo on hand, it's a prosthetic filler, just glob it on and it'll help you conceal some edges. If you're using Bondo or if you're using latex, just dry it. And once it's fully dry, you can latex over for a little bit of texture. This is all optional. Really, once you have the cap on, you can move on to painting. Start painting the bald cap with white. You can use oil-based paints or you can use water-based paints. I have Mayron Paradise Aqua Color here. You can also use a Pax paint to seal the bald cap. I have some mixed up here, and that's just Prozaid mixed with acrylic paint and some medium. And I'm gonna use a giant sponge. If you're pressed for time, hello. If you're pressed for time, you can probably grab a, this is basically upholstery foam. You can buy a car wash sponge. Maybe you can get a lot more done. Dip your sponge. Whoop. Just for some quick coverage. This is actually a Pax paint. It's a prosthetic paint, but if you don't have Pax paint, no need to worry. You can use whatever paint that goes on top. Before I cover the eye area or eyebrow area, I'm just gonna flatten out the brows. You can use spirit gum, you can use a glue stick. Yoo-hoo glue stick works just fine. I'm gonna take my powder puff. Close your eyes. Powder that. I'm gonna paint the rest of the face white. I'm gonna go in with airbrushing, but you can use any oil-based paint or water-based paint you have handy. Any cream paints will work. There's also Mayron Paradise white paint here, which is easily accessible. For anybody airbrushing, it's always a good idea to reduce the amount of overspray you create. So I'm just kind of painting a rough base on first. I'm just layering to make sure it gets some opacity. Add a little bit of shading black if you want to add a bit of dimension. Give it a little bit of a creepier skin effect. So I'm just creating a little bit of a gray shade. That just kind of adds a little bit of creepiness. I'm going to use a stencil with my shading gray to create some of the crackly texture on Pennywise's forehead. Some cracks on the side of the cheeks. And if you don't airbrush, that's okay. You can even paint it with a thin paintbrush. I'm going to Now paint a little bit of a shadow with my brow stencil here. You can also draw that out. Just a hint of a brow. If you wanted to strengthen this, you could draw it in really dark and black, but Pennywise has a subtle indentation, so I'm just doing a little bit of a shading gray. If I decide to bump it up, I could add a little bit of black, but I think I'll do that after. This could be done with eyeshadow as well. If you have black eyeshadow or gray eyeshadow, anything close to a shading gray, you can take anything, let's say cardstock, or you can cut a piece of paper. This here I have is acetate. Put it on top. That can be your guideline. It might help you keep things even. Next, we're gonna paint the eyes. I'm gonna airbrush it black, but you can add a little bit of eyeshadow on top or use a cream pencil, or if you have a gel black liner, that works as well. I'm going to paint the stripes on Pennywise's face with the red now, and this can be drawn on. You can use a lipstick color, you can use any red cream paints, you can use a water-based paint. I'm gonna airbrush this on. Okay, I'm gonna hand paint the lips. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of red paint. If you want a slightly deeper tone, take a little bit of a darker color there. And I'm just going to mix it on my spatula. And when you're painting the lip shape, you can extend the lip out a little further past the natural lip shape, if you'd like. And feel free to overdraw the bottom lip. I'm gonna Q-tip some of this red off because I really like that white highlight that's showing through. Philtrum, the Cupid's bow area, is quite sharp. So I'm gonna use a sharper lip liner brush. Sharpen those up. I'm gonna create the same fuzzy effect around the lips and just blur it out. I'm gonna add glue to the bald cap. Just gonna stipple it on. You can brush on your glue as well. Pennywise has quite the receding hairline. So I'm gonna draw it back quite a bit. Now because Prose only works when it dries, I'm gonna blow dry. This is crepe wool hair here. You can even grab some fun fur or find a cheap wig and cut some hair off of that. I'm just gonna fold this in half and I'm gonna put that down and then apply. And I'm just gonna lay it over my glue. I'm gonna slowly work my way up. If you didn't glue enough, that's okay. You can grab a little bit more glue, apply a little bit more. If you're working with spirit gum, it dries quite quickly. So if you're losing the tack, just put a little bit more. Blending hairline out here. Make sure he's kind of got a pompadour going on here. Pennywise is stylish. Okay, throw that in. If your hair is a little chunky, I think that it doesn't matter too much because it just kind of adds to the creepy effect. And if you'd like, spray a bunch of hairspray into it. But if you want it to help you kind of keep it gathered, you may. If your finish is a little bit messy, it doesn't matter. I think it just adds to the creepiness. Next, you can get your model to pop in some yellow contacts. I'm gonna use a black tooth color here just to prevent contamination. I'm going to pour a little bit onto my palette. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna black out parts of the teeth on the bottom to mimic a chipped effect and to emphasize the two front teeth. And just for a creepier vibe, I'm gonna shorten the surrounding teeth by blacking those out a little bit more. Yeah, I'm gonna paint the nose. I saved this for last, I don't know why. You can use lipstick for this. Really, there's no order. There's no order to what you do, as long as you get it all on safely.